After spending over 100 hours playing NASA's jungle, I thought to myself, how could I make League 20 times more boring, yet also 22 times as fun? It was a delicate seesaw to totter on. I couldn't have too much fun like playing Lethality Scion, but I also didn't want to have every second of the game be agonizing by playing a normal build on Singed. I have found the perfect balance. Never again feel like you're doing anything in the early game, yet somehow doing everything in the late game. And maybe you're thinking, well, I've played Kayn, so I know all about that. No, you don't know all about that. While Kayn's attacks at the start of any round feel like you're just giving the opponents a mild headache, what I'm about to show you will make you feel like you are only making your enemy's feet fall asleep because you are so useless that you don't even bother to stand up out of the chair to fight you. And who could be more useless than infinite stacking Smolder? I would love to have a timer and see how long it takes us to kill this K'Sante. Look at him. 4 people, he's not dying. He's barely dropping health. Finally, look at that. 7 Lord of the Rings extended editions later, he's dead. Now this build name needs some workshopping, I admit, because Smolder at a base level can already infinitely stack. Maybe something like exponentially stacking Smolder, or you're a furry if you play this champion Smolder. I'm not sure yet, but it's a first draft name, so whatever the title of this video is, it's not going to be like infinite stacking Smolder, because we're doing much more than that. We're doing incredible stacking. Now that doesn't stick. The goal here is to have as many items, runes, and abilities that stack, and then to kill everyone with those aforementioned stacks. But first, let's clarify what stacking means. It must be percentage based, have infinite scaling, or be a solid number, but that number is just really big. So for instance, Bloodline and Ultimate Hunter wouldn't count because they don't really have any big numbers for what they offer. But something like Overgrowth, Unending Grasp, and Dark Harvest would count. Attack speed and movement speed percentages don't count because that's really the only way you get that stat, and they have diminishing returns nowadays, so it's super nerfed to stack those. And items like Man Immune and Rod of Ages count because they do stack to a solid flat number, but those numbers are really big. So now we gotta make the build. What we are going for is stats, and more stats. And maybe damage if we can get it, but don't count on it because no matter how much damage you do, K'Sante can still just run at you with no problem because he's K'Sante. Starting out, you're going to get your first stacking thing by buying a tier, and immediately we have a problem. Do we buy health potions or not? A young street soldier such as myself pretty much never buys pots because why waste the 100 gold? But Smolder is so bad, he kind of needs them. So you might think that it's a no-brainer, but every time I bought them, I did bad. My theory is that health potions just don't taste good. Think about it. Smolder is a child. In his walk and in his talk, Smolder's a child at essence. And if you give a child medicine, sure, it might make them healthier, but they are going to throw a fit and be terrible all day. And maybe they would even go far enough to throw your league game. So I gotta make a health potion to see if that is causing the issue, because if it tastes good, then I'm just unlucky. But if it tastes bad, then it is Smolder throwing the game every time I buy them. So I got a cookbook with a health potion recipe in it, and I'm gonna go to the store and make one. But while I'm driving over there, I want to go over the rune pages with you, because really there's only one rune page to use. Undying Grasp procs off of every variant and AoE effect of Smolder's Q, so it's a no-brainer to take. And since it stacks infinite health, it's your second stacking thing. Demolish, well, it's just good. Now, conditioning does have percent scaling, armor, and magic resist. However, you're building it for the flat buff because none of the items you're going to get have armor or magic resist, so we don't count it as a stacking thing because we're not using it. Then you're going to take Overgrowth for percentage health, Mana Flow Band for flat mana, and Gathering Storm for infinite AD. 250 mana from Mana Flow Band might sound like a drop in the bucket for mana, but since it stacks and you can only get mana from like 7 things in the game, I'm going to count it. Already, we have a tier, which helps stack Mana Flow Band, which helps stack tier, Undying Grasp, which helps stack Overgrowth, which helps stack Undying Grasp, and Gathering Storm, which stacks AD, which helps us stack our passive. You know, now that I think about it, the passive probably should have been the first stacking thing, not tier. And our passive stacks off the AD we're getting from Gathering Storm. So look at that, we already have so much exponential growth, and we're not even halfway through the build. We are halfway through the drive to the store, though, and the recipe asks for lychee juice, which I only know what is because of King Julian, and raspberry juice. This doesn't sound like it's gonna taste good. Now that you've got your runes, there's a secret stacking thing that you will get, but will not speak about or count in the 12 stack Smolder. Ghost. You all know that Ghost is a summoner spell that increases your move speed. However, what you don't know is that Ghost can stack up to 5 times. It is typically impossible to know this, but if you go into Practice Tool, you can see that, as always, I'm right. For some reason, Ghost is coded to stack up to 5 times, but since it's impossible to stack, it would be unfair to count it in the 12 of 12 stack Smolder. It would be like calling this build 14 Shield Jarvan because Rift Herald and Chemtech Drake fruits give shield. It's impossible to have those while having the other stuff, okay? Doesn't make sense. Anyway, your secondary summoner spell can be whatever you want. Once you get a tier and you're in lane, your biggest goal is to stack your Undying Grasp, but more importantly, stack it off your Q, because now you're getting 2 stacks for the price of 1. And that's a bargain, much unlike the next thing on the recipe, which is Sakura Flower Liqueur, which I did find, but it's $120, which I can totally afford, but I don't drink. So instead, I'm getting whatever this is. I mean, it's red, so it'll probably work. Next item on your in-game shopping list is a Dark Seal, your 7th stacking thing. Easy extra AP on kill, another no-brainer. However, you aren't building AP. You're just getting a little extra on the side because it stacks and it's cheap. So you don't want your adaptive force to allocate to AP. So make sure you buy Serrated Dirk first because you're eventually going to need it for your 8th stacking item, Hubris. Now, Hubris is very fitting for Smolder, not only because the name is very apt for him, or really any kid. I mean, he's walking around like he fucking owns the place. One of his voice lines is just him yelling, "Mom."
Mommy.
What a little fuck. But ignoring Smolder's character flaws for a second, Hubris is a no-brainer, not just because it's a stacking item, but also because it has flat lethality, flat AD, and infinite scaling AD. That infinite scaling mixed with Gathering Storm infinite scaling is going to have your flat damage going through the roof. In late game, that is. Remember, this is all for late game. You're still going to be useless early game. However, all that damage you're getting from Hubris and Gathering Storm is going to amplify itself once you get your second item, Man Immune. And once you buy this, you've hit your power spike. You got 2 very good items that aren't at all gimmick, whatever boots fit the occasion, and 4 stacking runes. Do not ignore your minion waves and stop getting stacks, but you have to pick fights right now and get ahead, because your next few items are going to be far less impactful. Heartsteel isn't about to give you the huge damage buff that Man Immune will. Now, this item has stolen all of our hearts purely just because of the juicy sound effect. Heck, I could probably make a 10-minute compilation of just hitting Heartsteel stacks and people would watch the whole thing, and I'd get the money for that. And people would, that'd be a lot of it. This is a great, send me all your Heartsteel clips. But we aren't here for the sound effect. In fact, I play with the sound muted and just listen to the sweet sounds of Razel from SSX Tricky. We are building Heartsteel for the infinite stacking health, because as soon as you are done with getting your 9th stacking thing, you are building a Blood Mail. Blood Mail will cause Heartsteel and Undying Grasp to give you more damage, which will give you more health, which will give you more damage. If you're able to follow this, you'll realize that the exponential growth is insane right now, but we're not done yet with the build or the potion, because I don't know what sugarcane is. I thought it was something from Minecraft, but I asked someone in Walmart if they had some, and they said they could sell me some, but it would be outside. Okay, so now I've gotten some cocaine from behind this Walmart, because I thought the guy that was here just a second ago actually meant sugarcane. But, you know, I've been wrong before. Just like how I was wrong that I needed sugar cane. I needed cane sugar, or at least the syrup of cane sugar, which is right here. And now that we have this, I just got to get a cool bottle to put this in. Now, as for the build, you need to get Dark Seal built into Magi some time ago. Probably after you got a Heartsteel, but just do it whenever it works for you. Get it fully stacked, sell your boots, and buy a Rabadons for your 11th stacking item. 30% is technically not infinitely scaling. In fact, it's like the definition of finite, but 30% is such an insane amount, it counts. Finally, we have it all. Overgrowth, Blood Mail, Undying Grasp, Heartsteel, Rabadons, Mana Flow Band, Magi's, Gathering Storm, Man Immune, Smolder Passive, Hubris. They all multiplicatively stack off of each other and then help each other stack one another individually. You have now become infinite stacking Smolder and the king of stat checking. You will be tanky, you will be healthy, and you will be crazy, because no champion stat pool should look like this. Now, you might have noticed that that's only 11 stacking things. Where's the 12th? Well, I'd hate to make this build easy to do because everyone would do it. You see, the 12th stacking thing is the friends we made along the way, and also Infernal Soul. Actually it's just Infernal Soul. You see, this build will not result in friends. If you're lucky enough to play a game that lasts long enough to do all this and get one of the 5 souls, then congratulations, because now you have infinite AD, infinite AP, infinite true damage, infinite ability damage, infinite health, and finally, infinite ability haste. You will be the perfect specimen, assuming you bought health potions, because after spending all evening getting the stuff to make a health potion in real life, I have found out they're delicious, and Smolder's just being a baby if he doesn't like them. And that's it. That's what I did for my birthday this year. Well, that and make this code. And think about never making a video again for you folks. You see, as much as I love the attention, it's starting to get weird. Someone said some very bad things to me because they said I'm doing blackface. I would love to know what this guy thinks of burkas. Anyway, this is going to be my last video unless the person that solves this puzzle says otherwise. Unfortunately, my Discord solved the last one in 3 days, so I decided to make this one actually difficult, because as concerning as it is, I'm starting to like making videos.
I bought a bunch of yogurt today.
That's nice.
It was like 68 cents per.
I got your back, Joe. You keep... Oh, man.
You don't
Oh, man. Dude, I perfectly mistimed what I did.